credit scores. You consume an API, correct? That's the way an orchestration works. You don't really do customer touch points in CRM. It could be CRM on demand. That's an API that you consume or you publish. Analytics is becoming one of those APIs. Now a platform and a banking service, which is one of the reasons why when a very large institution comes to us and saying, many times, in fact, all the times, Temenos is amongst the one or the two that we would choose. Why so? Because the dependency of this modular core banking software, which has been tested over and over again, along with these APIs that have been pre-published and pre-consumed, gives you the advantage of going to market quicker and safer. So in my last slide, the next slide, I talk about the journey. And again, Eric from AWS mentioned the journey, VIB mentioned the journey around agility and workflow and availability. Yes to cloud, absolutely, yes to cloud. We endorse that, we support that. Timothy demoed us, and in fact, we saw the demonstration live with regards to that. And with AWS after us, as well as, of course, Red Hat, you will see the entire how-to component. And this is the journey that somebody like a Temenos and IDC and AWS and the partners would create for you. What is your existing maturity? And everybody is at a different maturity level. You don't have to have that fear of missing out. Some could be on a mainframe, that's not a problem. Some could be cloud native, and as yet they want to do something. We identify your maturity. We look at what your business outcomes are, and that's the most important. Somebody before us mentioned that. And then ultimately, the technology part, I dare say, is easier if you have the entire roadmap defined. So Nick and Sharon from Temenos, they have one of those meet the experts and talk to the experts availability. We would be happy to come with you or to you one-on-one. Understand what are you trying to achieve? What is your existing footprint? Where do you want to be? And then we can create this roadmap or this digital enterprise nirvana, so to say, so that you're able to achieve your business goals. So with that, I've got my contact details. Yet again, I really do apologize that I could not join you face to face, but I will be there to meet all of my friends very soon in Vietnam. Nick, over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Cyrus. So, question and answer. We always love what Cyrus has to hear or has to say, but you don't necessarily agree with all of it. So if you have a challenge for Cyrus, or if you want to know more about anything that he said, please put your hand up. We have a roaming mic. We can get that to you. I have some questions to ask him myself, but have a think about it. Please feel free to put your hand up. Cyrus, you still there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So question number one. This is always a bit of a bugbear of mine, I guess. We make this kind of artificial divide between developed markets and emerging markets in terms of technology and banking. And here in ASEAN, I think almost unashamedly, we'd probably fit into that emerging market bucket. How do the trends that you see and that you've shared with us today, especially around core abstraction, how does that compare between developed and emerging? How do you see it?
Sure. Okay. Yes, you're right, Nick. A bit of a loaded question. I'll be slightly opinionated and controversial, and those who know me know I would say that. If you're comparing ASEAN to US market, for example, ASEAN is far ahead, head and shoulder ahead. The reason being, the US is not one unified, homogeneous place. Some states are ahead of the curve. So some institutions, of course, like the big boys, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Morgan Stanley, have used a lot of digital native solutions and are constantly updating. But if you look at the large footprint, the US is not a case study. In fact, ASEAN. Some of the banks in Thailand are exceptionally good when it comes to payment ecosystem. Some of the banks, even in Brunei, if you hear the case study, and I know Simon is coming up, he will help you explain how they went from uh, a cloud non-existent to completely on cloud core banking. They are live, no glitch. So there are enough examples in ASEAN. From a maturity, I would give the ASEAN market a 4 out of 5 in digital maturity. A lot more can be done, but that's not a bad thing, as I said earlier. That just means that there are new initiatives, new business requirements, new KPIs, which I shared, and you're actually scrambling to do that. But if you're in that cocoon, I'd say 30% of the banks in ASEAN and Vietnam and Thailand are in that cocoon where no, we don't want to touch the core, it's working fine. I have to say, shamefully, Malaysia is in that country where they don't want to do anything about the core, and that is going to bite them, that is going to hurt them. So, a lot of maturity, a lot of adoption, more can be done, Nick.
Very good. So a secondary question then from me in lieu of audience questions. So you evangelize some of the benefits and perhaps a little bit of how to think about core abstraction. We also sometimes call it hollowing out the core. What are some of the tips and traps, I guess, and issues to consider? And also, you know, when I look at your pictures, one of the words that comes to my mind, or a phrase, I guess, is increased complexity. And so is this a strategy for all sizes of banks, big and small, and different industry verticals?
Yeah, I mean, again, core abstraction sits smack in the middle and the center. One is incremental and slow and steady phasing out if you're on a mainframe. Abstraction sits right in between. And the other one, of course, is the complete rip and replace. You switch off after about a year, your old core bank, and you go live on a new one. There is enough theory and enough books written about how this is suicidal and don't do that. We don't believe that. We believe that each one can be achieved in a risk-free manner. Brings me back to this: solutions don't fail, implementations do. I cannot emphasize enough on the ability of the systems integrator that are sitting there amongst you. Talk to them around the phased approach of hollowing out your core, slowly but surely adding on modular microservices around lending, payments, SME, buy now, pay later, reporting, ticketing. It can be achieved. The trap or the downfall of that is the know-how. Now, Vietnam is a young and large market, so there is enough technical know-how. But if you haven't been through a transformation, you will have to really blindly depend on your partners. That could be the institutional knowledge that you don't have inside, and you will have to watch out for, because, of course, everybody wants to sell you the best solution, the best services, but you may not understand. So there are a few smaller downsides to this abstraction. Nothing that would raise a big red flag if you have the right partner ecosystem, Nick.
Very good. So thank you very much, Cyrus. I think, you know, as part of that conversation and last night at our welcome dinner, there were a couple of enterprise architects in the room, and herein lies the benefit and the increasing importance of enterprise architecture in all of our decision making as we change our bank. I'm going to end that there. Cyrus, again, thank you very, very much. You're a wonderful presenter. We really appreciate your insights. And hand back over to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Mr. Nick Edwards and Mr. Cyrus Daruwala. So, ladies and gentlemen, as the financial services industry accelerates beyond the digital age into the age of cloud, what are some of the key functionalities that Temenos are unleashing in order to enable ASEAN banks to build the banks of tomorrow? We'll find out the answer from Mr. Sriraman Ganesan, EVP Product Engineering, Temenos, with his speech on Temenos technology and product roadmap. Mr. Sriraman, over to you.